Hey, friends, welcome back to Salon Success Secrets, the podcast for salon owners who are ready to build big dreams, bank big dollars, and do it all without burning out. Today's episode is one that's going to break some mental chains because we are tackling this juicy question. What exactly is freedom for a service provider? And we're going to lovingly challenge everything you or your team might think you know about what it means to be free. Let's go.
All right. So let's start here. You know, you've probably heard this before. Maybe you've even said it. It's like a lot of people say they got into this industry for freedom. They didn't want to clock in and out, or they didn't want a boss breathing down their neck, or they didn't want rules or dress codes or limits. And you know what? That's an okay spirit. But here's where the confusion starts. Like, freedom is not the absence of structure. Let me say
Mhm.
that again because it's so powerful. Freedom is not the absence of structure, it's having the right structure that sets you free. In a team based salon, true freedom comes when you're supported. And so, as a service provider, if you have people on your team, like they're not answering DMs on their day off, they're not squeezing in late night appointments, they're not having to handle bookings, rebooks, reordering, retail, or even emotional labor alone. And that's the difference. Is freedom isn't being able to say yes. Freedom isn't being able to say yes at any time. It's knowing you don't have to.
Mm. Yes, that is so good. It's not being able to say yes at any time. It's knowing that you don't have to. I love that, Jen. I think it's important to talk about a word that gets a bad reputation in our industry, and that word is schedule. And so let me define it really quickly because a schedule is a list of times of departures and arrivals, a timetable. So what I think is important to point out here is that it is not a jail sentence. you know, it is a system for movement, momentum, and mastery. And yet, so many service providers resist it. They'll say, I want more freedom, but then they'll create confusion, whether it's for their team or their clients. But most of all, it's for themselves that they're creating this confusion. And so they'll come and go when they feel like it, or they'll cancel, or they'll rearrange. But that energy becomes scattered. They're disconnected, they're weak. And when your schedule is inconsistent, you become invisible. People don't know when you're available, they forget you even exist. And what's truly happening is you're not building momentum, you're burning it down, because here's the truth: power is the ability to do or act. Really simple. Power is just the ability to do or act. And if your schedule is constantly shifting, you're not in power. You're reacting instead of ruling.
That's so good. I love that you said that. If your schedule is constantly shifting, you're not in power, you're reacting instead of ruling. So, salon owners, if you've ever had someone on your team that's wanting to change their schedule every other month, that this is the this is another great opportunity to kind of have this conversation with them that, like, hey, if you can continue to change your schedule, like, you're not in power. You lose that power in that moment to really build something great. So I love that you said that, Lindsay. So that brings us to a story. We've worked with a salon owner who came to us totally burnt out. So maybe you've been there before, felt it as well. She had a great team on paper, but they were all doing their own thing. No one followed a real schedule. I remember her saying if they didn't have clients on the schedule, they didn't come in. People were coming in late, they were leaving early, opening in their books randomly, taking clients clients on their day off just to make ends meet. And she was doing literally everything. You probably remember this too, Lindsay, like everything,
Mhm.
like guest communication, product orders, damage control, filling the books, marketing, like you name it, she was doing it. And so, the result of that is what we could see, because numbers do tell us a story, is that their guest experience was actually dropping. The team was exhausted and confused, and no one was making the kind of money they wanted to. So we went in there, got to work, and that's where we came in and created that structure. We set those hours. We had a front desk team who could actually handle communication. There were systems put in for rebooking, retail, and referrals. And there was also, weekly coaching, monthly coaching to keep the team focused and supported. And I remember us getting back together and checking those numbers within 90 days, and her pre-booking had went up to 62%.
Mhm.
The take-home pay for their stylist, I think they had a team of about 10. Their take-home pay had jumped by thousands. And then clients, their Google reviews had actually improved too. So their rating on Google had actually improved, and their clients were saying
Wow.
things about like the consistency and the professionalism. And
Mhm.
at the end of the day, the most important part to that is that her team felt free. They were no longer trying to juggle all behind the scenes tasks on their own. They had systems, they had clarity, they had that flow, and they had the energy to focus on what they do best, their craft.
Mm. Yeah, that was incredible. It really was awesome to see the freedom that was created just in those 90 days. It was some amazing results. And, Jen, when you pointed out that the take home pay for their stylist jumped by thousands, like that,
Mhm.
like their numbers jumped so much, but the take home pay for those service providers, man, that was like really incredible to see. And so, I think as a salon owner, here is how to speak directly to beauty pros searching for more freedom. Ask them, like, are you constantly checking your phone? Are you rearranging your week based on late texts? Or are you trying to do it all to avoid disappointing people? Because you're not free, you're over functioning. Because what we know is in a team based salon that works, your freedom is protected. You have boundaries, you have structure, you have a leadership team who advocates for your time, your energy, and most importantly, your growth. And so you're no longer guessing what your week looks like, you own it. And you're not wondering if you're doing enough. You have metrics to show you're winning. And that's real freedom. That's the kind that allows you to take weekends off with guilt, to take a vacation with your family, to focus on your art, on your mindset, on your money. It really makes you feel confident, supported, and you're fully booked with dream clients.
Yeah, so good. So
Mhm.
here's the reframe we want to leave you with today. If your team's version of, or their current version of freedom means hustle, it means burnout, it means overextension, or even being completely on, that's not freedom. That's actually a trap. But we know that when you commit to a structure inside a team-based salon that is designed to support you, like you're in power, you're actually visible, and you're magnetic to the right people and opportunities. Because power isn't about being everywhere, it's about holding a position so well people feel your presence even when you're not there. So if you're a salon owner who's ready for real freedom, it's time to stop floating and start anchoring. It's time to build a team that makes success inevitable.
Ah, I love that. That's it for today's episode of Salon Success Secrets. If this hit home for you, share it with another salon owner that you know. And if you're a salon owner ready to build this kind of team, or a beauty pro looking for a place like this, join us for the next Salon Success Secrets Challenge. Because what we know is the right structure changes everything. So until next time, serve big, shine bright, and stay powerful.